Hello out there. If you're watching this, hopefully, fingers crossed, you're a Striking Ghosts fan. And I'm E. Davis. This is my one person project, Striking Ghosts. I am in front of a background of something that really recalls my growing up, a cassette tape. So in this session, I'd like to play some of my favorite, a few of my favorite 80s classics that, if memory serves correct, I discovered most of these on cassette. And you'll see on, which is my right side, you'll see side one, 30 minutes. Yeah, this is back in the day. If you're watching this, you may recall when albums, obviously vinyl, had side one and side two. Cassettes had side one and side two, and then you'd try to tape an LP onto a cassette, and hope that the album fits on both sides, and hopefully there's not too much room on side one for excess tape at the end or excess tape at the end of side two. So I personally, I'm trying to remember. I think I bought 90-minute cassettes, 45 minutes on one side, 45 minutes on the other. So my hope was whenever I would have vinyl and then put it on a cassette, it would be shorter than 45 minutes. So yeah, I was a big fan of those 45-minute albums, which were usually albums, definitely like Wham! Make It Big was 8 songs. That was going to pass the test anyway. Then you had 10-song albums like Colored by Numbers, Culture Club. You had 9-song albums like Duran Duran, Rio, Seven of the Ragged Tiger. And luckily they all made it. They all made it. I was so upset when I tried to do the same with Notorious back in 1986 by Duran Duran. And I think the album runs maybe 46 or 47 minutes or something. Was just hoping there would be just an extra little bit of tape on that TDK that would allow me to get the last song, Proposition, onto the tape and not have to cut it off at Winter Marches On, track number 9, and then put track number 10, Proposition, on the other side of the tape. Anyway, I just thought this background was perfect to play some cover songs. Some of my favorite 80s cover songs. And this is a song that I wish one of my favorite bands would play live. I wish they'd acknowledge it more. I still to this day question, is it a B-side or is it an album track? Because it works really well as an album track. What I could see it as just a B-side, but I think the song is so good. But Not Tonight by Depeche Mode. Oh God, it's raining and I'm not complaining. It's filling me up with new life. The stars in the sky bring tears to my eyes. They're lighting my way tonight. In years, just for a day, on a day like today, I'll get away from this constant debauchery. The wind in my hair makes me so aware how good it is to live tonight. And I haven't felt so alive tonight. not tonight. Such a great song by Depeche Mode. It's off Black Celebration, and sometimes it's included as the last album track, but sometimes it's not. The last album track is actually supposed to be New Dress, which ends the album on kind of a strange note, but it is called Black Celebration, so go figure. This next song, another huge favorite of mine. I first discovered this group when I was shopping at a record store in my hometown of Reno. Go figure. It was the year 1983, and I immediately just clicked with this group. Whew. They had a huge hit that year, and it was blasting in the record stores, Fascination. And that was off the EP. Then the following year, because they had released, I think this is right, I thought Fascination was 83. And then their landmark album, to this day, landmark album, Dare, came out in 81. So everyone was, kind of excited, really excited about the follow-up LP in 84, because Fascination was a great EP. Yeah, You Remind Me of Gold, Mirror Man, Fascination, obviously. And then Hysteria came out in 1984, not Hysteria by Def Leppard, which came out in, I'm trying to remember off the top of my head, I think 87. But the album, it was a disappointment. I mean, the Lebanon, great track, great guitar, with something unexpected, because this is basically a very synth electronic group. But this song, wow, this song is just, whew, I think it's so relatable. Robbie Williams even did a cover of it on Rude Box. He even wrote what he called a sequel to it with the track Ghost, which he wrote with Stephen Duffy for his album Intensive Care. But oh man, I love this song. This is Louise by The Human League. When he started getting off the bus, it seemed to wipe away the years. Her face was older, just a little rough, but her eyes were still so clear. He drank his coffee and he hurried out across before she walked away. Then he approached her like a little child, too scared for what he had to say. Hello, Louise, remember me? Now should we part or stay a while, as if we were still lovers? She'd known so well before, and as he started to apologize, lose any bitterness she bore, she gently put her finger on his lips to let him know she understood. And with her suitcase standing on the floor, embraced him like a lover would, he told Louise, "You look so good. It's just to see you make me feel as if we were still lovers." It's not always true. Time heals all wounds. There's some wounds you don't want to heal. The memories of something really good, something truly real, she'll never find again. As if we were still lovers. For just a little time, left, she gave that smile, as if they were still lovers. Hey, 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 as if they were still lovers. Hey, 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 as if they were still lovers. And that is Louise by the Human League. You can find that online or on the album, which is pretty good. But I mean, you compare it to the album Dare. But you can find that on their 1984 album Hysteria. It has some really great tracks. It really does. Lebanon, Louise, Life on Your Own. Those are probably my three favorite on that album. Wow. Okay, so we're going to end this 80s classic session with another classic song. This is a group that I fondly remember. Their cassette, as you see him from a cassette, listening to their cassette while I was working in the box office of one of my first jobs, which was working at the Old Town Mall movie theater in Reno, Nevada. And when you're working in the box office, you're sequestered in this box office for everyone to get their tickets back in the day. You can, there's downtime when nobody's buying a ticket or a movie showing or whatever movies are showing. You can just do whatever you want. So I was just listening to music in the box office and doing whatever, I don't know, waiting for the next rush. But I definitely remember listening to the 1986 album, 1986, right? You're right. I should have researched, but anyway, Please. Oh man, did I love Please. Now, back then, you just didn't know with all these groups coming out, especially these British groups. You just didn't know who was going to be a one-hit wonder. You didn't know who was going to be a one-album wonder, because you just didn't know. Some groups just faded away after that one hit, right? Some groups faded away after that one album. That again, that's what I attribute so much of the success of groups like Duran Duran to. They had a great debut album, and everyone's wondering, like, how are they going to follow that up if they caught on to that first album, and then here comes Rio, boom. I mean, they just surpassed it. So here's this great group, and who knows what's going to happen with them, but they came out of the gate, stormed out of the gate, and here they are almost 40 years later, still just doing so great. They're, not to discount other groups that have to do that, but they're not part of this festival circuit. They're not part of an 80s festival circuit. They're not an opening band for anybody. They still headline their own shows. They're still doing like this greatest hits tour, I think, right now. And I followed them ever since that time, that I was listening to them in the box office at the Old Town Mall. And this was their very first hit. It was huge. And that's the other thing. This was a huge hit. Who knew what was going to happen with this group? Because a lot of these kind of groups, they released a huge hit, their first single off their first album. And then the second song, the third song doesn't chart. And then that's it. They're one-hit wonders. And that hit is good. That hit is great. But this group managed to keep having hits into the 80s, and for some reason America kind of ignored them a little bit in the 90s, but they kept having hits internationally, and they keep having hits to this day. Wow. But this first song, gun in your hand, pointing at your head, think you're mad. What? How much? You can't. If you got it together, if so, how often? Wish you choose the hardest soft option. Western talent in the world. East End boys, West End girls. Ooh, in a Western talent in the world. East End boys, West End girls. West End got a heart of glass or a heart of stone. Just you wait till I get you home. We've got no future, we've got no past. Here today, we're built to last in every city, in every nation, from Lake Geneva to the Finland station. Western talent in the world. East End boys, West End girls. Ooh, in a Western talent in the world. East End boys, West End girls. And of course, that's West End Girls by the Pet Shop Boys. And you can find that on their debut album, Please. Great album. And of course, they definitely stuck around, made even, to me, a better album with Actually. It continued with Introspective in 88. They're just great. So this was a lot of fun. Thanks for listening to this classic 80s acoustic session of 3 songs, starting with try to remember what I started with, But Not Tonight by Depeche Mode, Louise by the Human League, and West End Girls by Pet Shop Boys. So thanks, and you can check out my original music here on my channel and also on Spotify. Thanks.